Hi everybody, welcome to our flipped classroom today. We are going to start with a mini lesson on making connections, and you can find in the assignment for today's class the model lesson plan, which actually is a very good example of the lesson plan that I expect from each of you for your reading comprehension mini lessons. You'll also find a copy of the anchor chart, and you'll find a copy of the paper called Making Connections, the worksheet that you'll need to complete the activity at the end. So you might want to take a moment to download those. You can pause this video while you do it. And here goes the lesson. Today we're going to learn a strategy called making connections. When we read a story and we're able to make connections to our own lives and experiences, it helps us understand the story better. There are lots of different ways that we can make connections to the story. So here's my anchor chart that shows some of them. And I'm going to explain each of them as we go. And you can look at the anchor chart that you've downloaded. So the first kind of connection is called text to self. And it's a connection between the book and your own life or experiences. When you can make a connection between your life, it helps make the story more personal and you can understand it better. You can also make a connection between the story that you're reading and another story that you may have already read. That also helps you understand better. You could make a connection between the text and what you know about the world around you, events in the real world, or how things are in other places of the world. You could make a connection between the text and media, and by that I mean you could make a connection between the book and something you've seen on TV or in a movie or something you've read on your computer or even something that you heard in a song. The last kind of connection that you might make is called text to peer, and that's the kind of connection you make when you connect the story to the experience of a friend or a family member, something they might have told you or that you saw them experience. So to help us learn this strategy, we are going to use one of my absolute favorite books in the whole world. And it's called Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day. It is written by Judith Viorst and illustrated by Ray Cruz. So before we start reading, who can tell us about a time when you had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, and what did you do about it? Take a moment and pause the video so that your group can share those times when they had a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day and maybe what they did about it. And then don't forget to come back when you're done talking. All right, we're going to start reading, but before we do, let's take a look at the cover. We can already see from the look on Alexander's face that he's not very happy, can't we? Let's read and find out why. I went to sleep with gum in my mouth, and now there's gum in my hair, And when I got out of bed this morning, I tripped on the skateboard, and by mistake, I dropped my sweater in the sink while the water was running. And I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. You know, I can really relate to this because last Tuesday, just last Tuesday, I slept through my alarm. And then I spilled my coffee, and I kept on dropping things off the counter and knocking things over. And I ended up having to go back into the house 3 times to get things that I kept forgetting the previous times that I came back into the house. I was really worried that the whole day was going to be like that. But then I went to the gym and I kind of got it out of my system and I felt much better. I wonder what Alexander's going to do. Let's keep reading. At breakfast, Anthony found a Corvette Stingray car kit in his breakfast cereal box. And Nick found a junior undercover agent code ring in his breakfast cereal box. But in my breakfast cereal box, all I found was breakfast cereal. I think I'll move to Australia. Do you think it's going to be any better in Australia? Is that a connection we can make? The text to the world. What do we know about Australia? Do we think Australia is going to be any better? Maybe we'll find out. In the carpool, Mrs. Gibson let Becky have a seat by the window. Audrey and Ellison got seats by the window too. I said I was being scrunched. I said I was being smushed. I said, if I don't get a seat by the window, I am going to be carsick. No one even answered. I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. You know, I can make another connection. One of my favorite TV shows is Young Sheldon. I think Alexander feels like he's different and he's always being picked on, and maybe he's the middle child. I'm not sure about that. But I wonder if if Sheldon feels like that too, because he's different and he's always being picked on by his siblings. And I just wonder if that's a good connection. Let's keep reading. At school, Mrs. Dickens liked Paul's picture of the sailboat better than my picture of the invisible castle. At singing time, she said I sang too loud. I can relate to that in 2 ways. The first way is that my father, who could not sing at all, used to say that what he lacked in quality, he made up for it in volume. I also have a friend who always likes to say that his music teacher always used to ask him to mouth the words instead of actually singing because his voice was that bad. I could see why Alexander would feel badly about that. At counting time, she said I left out 16. Who needs 16? I could tell it was going to be a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. So now that I've given you some examples of how to make connections with the text, I'm going to pause for a few. I'm going to keep reading, but then I'm going to pause for a little bit after each page or after each couple of pages to give you time in your groups to talk about connections that you make to the text. If I don't leave enough time in between the pages, feel free to pause the video so that you can actually have a conversation about that. I could tell because Paul said I wasn't his best friend anymore. He said that Philip Parker was his best friend. and that Albert Moyo was his next best friend, and that I was only his third best friend. I hope you sit on a tack, I said to Paul. I hope the next time you get a double-decker strawberry ice cream cone, the ice cream part falls off the cone part and lands in Australia. And take a quick pause. Going on. There were 2 cupcakes in Philip Parker's lunch bag, and Albert got a Hershey bar with almonds, and Paul's mother gave him a piece of jelly roll that had little coconut sprinkles on the top. Guess whose mother forgot to give him dessert? It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. Take a quick pause. That's what it was. Whoop, here's the picture on this side. That's what it was, because after school, my mom took all of us to the dentist, and Dr. Fields found a cavity just in me. Come back next week and I'll fix it, said Mr. Fields. Next week, I said, I'm going to Australia. On the way downstairs, the elevator door closed on my foot. And while we were waiting for my mom to go get the car, Anthony made me fall where it was muddy. And then I started crying because of the mud. And Nick said I was a crybaby. And while I was punching Nick for saying crybaby, my mom came back with the car and scolded me for being muddy and fighting. Let's take a pause to see what connections we can make. I'm having a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day, I told everybody. Nobody even answered. So then we went to the shoe store to buy some sneakers. Anthony chose white ones with blue stripes. Nick chose red ones with white stripes. I chose blue ones with red stripes, but then the shoe man said, we're all sold out. They made me buy plain old white ones, but they can't make me wear them. Let's take a quick pause. When we picked up my dad at his office, he said I couldn't play with his copying machine, but I forgot. He also said to watch out for books on his desk, and I was careful as could be, except for my elbow. He also said don't fool around with his phone, but I think I called Australia. My dad said please don't pick him up anymore. It was a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. There were lima beans for dinner, and I hate lima beans. There was kissing on TV, and I hate kissing. My bath was too hot. I got soap in my eyes. My marble went down the drain, and I had to wear my railroad train pajamas. I hate my railroad train pajamas. All right, let's take a quick pause. for you to make connections. When I went to bed, Nick took back the pillow he said I could keep, and the Mickey Mouse nightlight burned out, and I bit my tongue. The cat wants to sleep with Anthony, not with me. It has been a terrible, horrible, no good, very bad day. My mom says some days are like that. Even in Australia. So now that we've made connections to the text, I want you to discuss the following questions in your group. And again, pause the video for as long as you need to discuss each question. The first question is this: why do you think Alexander's day just kept getting worse and worse and worse? Why do you think that happened? Go talk and you come back when you're ready. The next question is, what is something that you can do to turn things around when you're having a bad day? Okay, take a few minutes to discuss that and pause while you do. All right, who can remember the name of the strategy we learned today? Raise your hands. Even though I can't see you, you can all say it at once. And what is the secret to using this strategy? Remember, way back at the introduction, we talked about what the secret was to using the strategy of making connections. Good job. Good job. Now, I would like for each of you to take the text, the story that you brought with you, either informational or fit literary, whichever you chose, and you are going to take this sheet, which you can download, as I said, from the assignment, and I would like for each of you to take the next 10 minutes to read your story and make connections. As you're making connections, please write the kind of connection you're making in the correct column. Make sure your name is on the bottom because you're going to take picture scans of all of them and submit them on Facebook. On Blackboard. Okay, I'm going to end this video now, and when you're done with this activity, then your group can start the next video.